Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco. This is their part number 15995GC-26D. Basically what this is a key-in-knob lever deadbolt type of composite cylinder. It is a cylinder construction. The design of it is composite in the sense that it is used in many different types of applications by different manufacturers: Schlage, Arrow, Corbin, Yale, et cetera, imports. And you'll find this cylinder type in an A53 Schlage lock, and you'll find this type of lock in a standard Arrow D-series deadbolt as well. So they're pretty typical pieces of equipment in that regard, and that's why Kaba Ilco offers these. So basically they call it a Key-in-Knob-Deadbolt cylinder, is what it is. And when you look at this type of cylinder, you'll say, yeah, that looks just like what I've seen countless times, is the bottom line. And it won't necessarily fit, it will not fit in all applications. It's not going to do a Schlage D-series out of the box, because that length of the tailpiece on the D knob is longer than what's included with this. But it's going to work on a lot of stuff, especially typical deadbolts is what it'll work on. So Kaba Ilco makes this generic or composite type of platform, and we're going to go over the variations, but in 5 or 6 pin, in a couple of dozen different keyways, or composite keyways as well, and with 6 different tailpieces. And you got 3 for levers or knobs. So for knobs, they go in this way. For levers, they go in this way, generally, right? And then deadbolts, those 3 tail pieces are lazy action. We'll talk about that in a moment. The face of this plug is going to be 04 and 26D, satin brass and satin chrome. I don't think they'll do any other finishes. I know that other manufacturers have gotten into black on the face of their plugs as well, but I don't believe Kaba Ilco does. So let's talk about this. So what you have here is a 15995GC, and what that means is that it is a 6-pin cylinder that has been combinated to 5 positions. It's drilled 6, but there's only pins in 5 of the chambers. That's the second 5 in the part number. 15995 or 15996. 6 is drilled 6-pin and pinned 6-pin, and therefore you're going to get 6-pin blanks. We generally stock the 5-pin version in most everything. 6-pin is probably going to be in stock only in the real common stuff. Now, let's talk about the tail pieces that are included with this. In the hardware package, which I've removed from this piece of plastic here, you're going to get 3 tail pieces for levers and knobs. Here they are. Okay. The only difference between these are the length. The shortest one, which is stamped RS, the overall length of that tail piece is about 0.655, The second length is stamped RM. The length of that tail piece is about 0.87. The longest one is stamped RL, and that length is approximately 1.087. All of these will have their preparations for the retaining pin in 2 positions. Those 2 positions will allow installation horizontally or vertically. That's why they're both there. Then you have your lazy action tail pieces. Lazy action is an industry technical term that means in a deadbolt, and it's a classic problem. Someone puts the key in their deadbolt, and they throw the deadbolt, and the deadbolt throws. And then when they turn the key back vertical, the deadbolt comes back. Well, that's not what you want with a deadbolt. That means, in that instance, that just means their tailpiece is timed incorrectly. There's a video online that I produced about a decade ago that thousands of people have watched. No manufacturer puts in their installation instructions, hey, if you did this wrong, this is how you fix it. And I think, to everyone's discredit, is that when you install the lock exactly literally how the installation instructions tell you to, you generally don't have that problem at all. But when you just slap it on the door, yeah, you've got a chance that it won't work right. Now, a lazy action tailpiece allows you to put the key in, throw the deadbolt, and then bring the key back to vertical because the tailpiece is lazy. It won't travel back. And that's a result of this pie cut preparation on the bottom of this tailpiece. Okay. It's called a lazy action. That's literally what it's called. The shortest one is stamped DS. The length of that, about 0.54 inch. The middle length is DL, 0.895. The longest one is going to be approximately 1.815. All of these are going to be, let's just assume they're all the same. The tailpiece is about 0.265 wide and about 0.068 thick. Spring-loaded retaining pin with a threaded cap. You will use this C-ring that will install that item down there. Occasionally you need to use this plastic shim to slide over your tailpiece because there may be some slop involved in the cylinder slopping around in there, and then you would use this thin shim that they include, and that's really what this is for. Yeah, that's going to help take up some space. You could also argue that it is somewhat of an anti-bypass piece of hardware as well. Getting a probe in the back of the cylinder with that plastic piece there might be a little more challenging if you were to try to probe this from behind the cylinder. Is it going to happen on your cylinder? Probably not. Does cylinder bypass occur in very ingenious ways? Oh yeah, absolutely. And lock manufacturers spend a lot of money obviously making their locks, something that won't succumb to any type of attack. This is made of solid brass in the sense of the plug and the shell. What that means is that you're going to get very smooth operation out of a Kaba Ilco original cylinder that's made of brass. They all aren't, but almost all of them are. You'll get decades of service out of this. Always go for a solid brass component when you can. You'll order a lock like a Schlage F series that's going to have a zinc cylinder and plug in it. Yeah, those work just fine, but you're not going to get the machinery, the tight tolerances out of that. You won't get the same sort of life expectancy overall. When there's already a lot of sloppiness in a cylinder, it wears out faster is the bottom line. Really nice quality material. Brass being a self-lubricating product just works well. So you'll see brass and bronze and amalgamations of alloys of that material. Alloys of materials that go in to become brass and bronze as those alloys are best suitable for the application. And this particular alloy is really good for cylinder work. This is a 5-pin original look-alike key blank. It's got that bow of what a Sargent key bow is going to look like. This is a composite keyway, which means into the cylinder plug, the broaching in the plug, you can stick an RA, an RB, or an RC. Now that's not ideal to be able to run different keyways into this, and that's definitely not ideal for a couple of reasons. To you it may not matter because it just may not play a role at all. Reason one, more sloppiness in the broaching of the cylinder plug. You've got less material there. You've removed more, so the long-term benefit of that cylinder and that key being a little looser inside of there is obviously not to anyone's advantage. The second substantial disadvantage is, as a locksmith, you would never want to introduce a composite cylinder into a system. Here's why. You don't know what other keys will pass this. You could have a client who has RA and RC on the job. And why would they use two different keyways? Because they have more changes required than a single keyway can produce. So if you had a bitting on an RA keyway and the same bitting on an RB on an RC keyway, those keys won't work each other. Even though the cuts are the same, they won't work because the key won't enter the cylinder. But if you have a composite cylinder, now the RC cut to key number 100 is going to work in the lock on the RA cut to 100. That's the problem with that. So introducing composites into your system, or multi-section or all-section key blanks that will pass different broachings and cylinder plugs is the same problem. So be mindful of all of that. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at all the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, here's the page that we are indeed on. Let me show you some photographs that we have of this. There's lots of them here. There's the box. There's the contents. The 6 different tail pieces. Here's some pictures of the cylinder. close-up of the broaching, you can see there's not a lot there. There's not a lot happening here. A lot of this has just been hollowed out. This would be considered a non-paracentric style broaching, I would think, because a paracentric keyway has multiple wards that travel over the vertical center line. This really has only one. Easier to pick is what they say when they give you this much room to play with. The backside showing the threaded cap, the pin, there's a spring underneath there. Don't lose those. Those are hard to come by. The keys, RA Keyway, it ships with an RA. Your tailpiece package. Okay. Now, other images that we have here as well, older pictures, RA through RC lists the different locks that this is known or assumed to work in. The 100 and the B400 and the H, those are long discontinued. I don't know which of these aero deadlocks are discontinued. I imagine half of them for sure. Now, they won't fit into everything, that's for sure, because you're going to have certain locks, like a Corbin-Russwin lock. It's going to have an unusual tailpiece that you can't get added to the back of this type of cylinder. It's the bottom line. So let's do this. Let's click the link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page. And that will allow you to review not only all of the Kaba Ilco products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, but also the brass cylinders, storefront, replacement hardware price list. I want to look at an older version of that. Brass cylinder manual right there. Yeah, this is the one I want. The reason I like this catalog is because it has more information in it. It's more graphical. So this is how we put the part number together. 15995, they're down here, key and knob cylinders. 15995, it's a 5-pin combination knob deadbolt. Select your keyway next. Well, here's your chart or your table of keyways. I said a couple of dozen. I was wrong. There's more than a couple of dozen, closer to 30. But we are dealing with the GC. Now, how they got GC for Sargent, I don't know, but there it is. GC, RA through RC. That means RB as well. 3 keyways will operate that. They have other composite keyways. Sargent LA, LB, LC. The SX is a composite keyway by Schlage. They're C through K. Their 7 classic original obverse keyways will work there. The Lorry 90 and the Lorry 80, they're the same keyway. The only difference is one is 6-pin and the other's 5-pin. I don't see any other composite keyways that are here. Now, what's interesting about the GC is, let's search the document for GC, Control F, and we're going to get to a chart that's going to show us the key blanks that they include with a GC cylinder. That's really nice. So you say to yourself, well, I need some of those cylinders, but I also want a box of key blanks. Well, here it is. It's the 1000 RA. What can you do with that? Well, back to the manufacturer's page, you can open up the key blank catalog and allow that to load. This might be about 500 pages or so. Yeah. And then you can do a find function on your keyboard for 1007 RA and just let that search and you will find it. Here it is. That is indeed a 5-pin. It's in the Sargent section of the purple or pink or whatever. Section 2, North American cylinders. This entire section is alphabetical, so if you're looking for Schlage, if you're looking for Weiser or Falcon, you know which direction to scroll in. But there's our 1007 RA. So this is literally how you'll go about ordering those key blanks. It also shows you the multiplex structure of these key blanks. You've got 5-pin and 6-pin. And what this means is only these are cylinders. Well, they're cylinders and key blanks, but only these are key blanks. These are multi-section blanks, and this is the all-section blank. So if you cut something on the RD, it will pass all 3 of these, RA, RB, RC. If you were to cut something on the RDH, it's going to pass all 6 of these. You can see how that works. You cut a key on the RBM, it will pass all of these. I think there's 8 or 9. Yeah, 9 keyways. So this is very handy. You can get this out in the Sargent catalog as well, but it's here. So now you know the part number for the 5 and 6-pin key blanks. So that's pretty handy to have that. Back to the chart that we were working on. we did our keyway, and then everything else is going to be simple and straightforward. It's going to be what cam or tail piece you need. You're not going to have to really answer that when you're dealing with a knob deadbolt or knob lever deadbolt cylinder. You know, it's going to come with those. Your finish, and then your keying, if they're going to be probably coming off our shelf, is probably KD, keyed differently. Finish codes, that does not mean your plugs are available in all of these finishes. You can count on satin brass and like an oil rub bronze. That's going to be all you'll really get though. Pardon me, I'm wrong. Satin brass and satin chrome. Kaba can do key work, and then that's where you would specify how the key work would be done by Kaba Ilco. Although you're probably not going to have them do the key work from the perspective that if you're buying cylinders, you're probably doing key work yourself, or the lead time from the factory is such that it's prohibitive, and you might say, and we might just do the key work for you for an additional service, obviously. The rest of this catalog is full of all things cylinder related from Kaba Ilco, and I would recommend a review of this. Mortise cylinders are here, their cams, their tail pieces for rim cylinders, etc., etc. I would like to point out to you again, this key blank catalog, super helpful. If you're not sure what keyway you have, you can look at this broaching profile. This is what that key blank looks like, as if you're looking down into the cylinder itself. So if you study these three, eventually you'll pick out, oh, I see, yeah, those are different. This is different from here, different from here. You know, and then you can look at your key blank and start to determine what it isn't. Eliminate what it's not, and then what's left over is what it is. You may not find the keyway you want from Sargent, because most definitely they have unpublished protected keyways, so you may not find it in a Kaba Ilco book, and you won't find it in a Sargent book either. But this catalog is helpful because you can, again, eliminate what it's not usually. This is what it looks like when you're looking down into the cylinder, not at the tip of the key. You'll have to reverse that in your mind's eye if you are holding a key. Other items on this manufacturer's page would be just encyclopedic documents, catalogs, articles, things of that nature. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Now, I'm quite partial to Kaba Ilco cylinders because they are inexpensive, and they're made to very tight manufacturing tolerances using high-quality material. I'm also partial to Kaba Ilco because of the excellence of the tech support gentleman that is the cylinder manager that I know. He is extremely helpful. He has shepherded me through my journey of becoming a kid who knows how to recombinate cylinders to an institutional certified professional locksmith, or with a LOA. And you know, over the years I've reached out to him because I need help. I don't know, and he's always been extremely willing to help. And to him for that I say thank you. Any questions on the 15995 in a GC, in a 26D, or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.